The theater lights dim. A face fills the screen, smiling, polished, adored. Cameras lean in. Applause swells like a tide, and then recedes, leaving only the glare of studio lamps and the faint scent of powder. This was Lupe Vélez, born in 1908, gone in 1944, the golden, volatile presence reporters love to frame. She was billed as a spark, a fire on the stage, the woman every camera returned to, an image bright enough to blind. Yet fame, like celluloid, is thin and combustible. Beneath the lacquered smile and the dress designed to catch every flash, a quieter story waited. A story of a woman from Jalisco who learned to carry light into rooms that refused to receive her fully. A story undone not only by sorrow, but by the shape of a society that expected her to perform not only on screen, but also for a narrow, unforgiving imagination.
Then a story began to take its own life. An ugly whisper took root, a grotesque image meant to humiliate, a detail so specific and degrading that it could reshape memory itself. In the years that followed, that whisper spread, published, repeated, embellished, until it refused to be corrected by facts. The myth hardened faster than the truth could be read in an autopsy report or heard in a testimony. The rumor did not simply describe what had happened, it rewrote the woman she had been, turning a private end into a public spectacle. This film begins with that lie. It listens to the echo the lie left in the halls of Hollywood and asks a cold question. Who benefits when a life is made into laughter and then into a lie? Who held the pen that turned her death into entertainment? In the silence after the applause, an industry found a way to mock what it had not embraced. The echo of that mockery is the shadow this story will follow.
The story of Lupe Vélez does not begin in Hollywood's artificial glow. It begins beneath the harsh, unfiltered sun of San Luis Potosi and later Jalisco, places where life was loud, vivid, and unapologetically real. She was born Maria Guadalupe Velez de Villalobos into a world that valued strength but rarely rewarded ambition, especially when it came from a girl with fire in her voice and defiance in her eyes. From the beginning, she learned that being a Latina woman meant living under assumptions she never agreed to. She watched how society expected quietness from girls, modesty from young women, obedience from daughters. She chose none of it. Her childhood did not shape her into a rebel. It simply revealed she had been one all along. The world around her whispered that a woman like her should stay small, stay polite, stay grateful. But Lupe was not built for silence. Her laughter was too loud, her opinions too sharp, her dreams too big for the room she was given. She carried herself with an energy that refused to soften, and even as a girl she understood the unwritten rule that would follow her for the rest of her life.
A Latina with a voice is a threat. A Latina with ambition is a problem. When her father lost his fortune, poverty arrived like an unexpected storm. Lupe, barely a teenager, worked to support her family, dancing, performing, doing what she could with what she had. But the small stages of Mexico could never contain her. She looked beyond the border, toward a land of bright lights and promises, a land that would take her in, use her brilliance, and then turn his back when she needed compassion the most. But she didn't know that yet. All she knew was that the world was already trying to place her in a box she would spend the rest of her life breaking open. And so, the girl from Jalisco, with her fire and her hunger and her refusal to shrink, stepped toward the dream that one day would betray her.
Hollywood greeted her not with warmth, but with curiosity. A Latina woman who spoke her mind, moved like a flame, and refused to lower her eyes. She was a novelty, a spectacle, something to display, not something to respect. Studios didn't know what to do with a woman like Lupe Vélez, so they did the only thing they understood. They turned her into a stereotype. They called her the Mexican Spitfire, a nickname that sounded glamorous on posters, but was in truth a cage disguised as praise. It reduced her brilliance to temper, her humor to volatility, her passion to exoticism. Hollywood didn't want her complexity, it wanted a caricature. A Latina woman had to be loud, fiery, unpredictable, never elegant, never refined, never equal. Every interview she gave became a trap. If she was honest, they called her wild. If she defended herself, they called her hysterical. If she laughed too loudly, they called her uncivilized. And the public ate it up. Her talent was undeniable. She danced, she sang, she acted with a rawness that American actresses could not imitate. She lit the screen with a force that could not be taught. But while audiences adored her, the industry held her at a distance, like a dangerous spark that might ignite something they did not want to confront.
Her relationships were scrutinized more harshly than those of her white counterparts. Her accent was mocked. Her personality was sensationalized. Her mistakes were magnified. Hollywood profited from her image by day and punished her for it by night. By the 1930s, Lupe was both everywhere and nowhere. A star on screen, a foreigner off it. She lived with the knowledge that fame could be taken from her at any moment, and that the city that applauded her was the same city that whispered behind her back. But even then, she refused to quiet herself. She refused to shrink. And for that, Hollywood waited. Waited for her to stumble. Waited for a moment it could turn into a spectacle. And on a cold December night in 1944, it finally got the chance it wanted.
Success had sharpened her edges, but loneliness had hollowed her out. Behind the laughter, behind the fierce persona Hollywood crafted for her, Lupe Vélez was exhausted. Exhausted from proving she belonged in a world that never intended to let her stay. By 1944, the glamour had faded. The phone rang less, scripts arrived slower, and the press, always hungry, always circling, treated her not as a star, but as prey. Her personal life was a battlefield. Love had never been gentle to her, and her relationships, especially with white American men, were dissected with cruel fascination, as if her affection itself was a scandal. When her final relationship fractured, the tabloids sharpened their knives. They called her unstable, dramatic, impossible. They reduced her heartbreak into punchlines. Then came the pregnancy. In another world, it might have been a blessing. In Hollywood, for a Latina, unmarried actress, it was a death sentence. Not a literal one, but a professional one. A social one. She feared the headlines waiting to be printed. She feared being paraded as a fallen woman. She feared the ridicule reserved for actresses like her, those who didn't fit the mold, those who didn't obey the rules, those whose mistakes were judged more harshly because of their heritage. Hollywood had cornered her. And when a person is pushed into a corner long enough, the darkness begins to feel like a door. On the night of December 13th, 1944, Lupe invited two close friends for dinner. She dressed beautifully. She set the table meticulously. She laughed, too brightly, too briefly. A performance for an audience of two, masking a decision already made. After they left, silence flooded the house. The lights hummed softly in her bedroom. Outside, Los Angeles glittered, a city indifferent to the suffering it manufactured. She wrote letters. She arranged her pillows. She lay on her bed, alone, heartbroken, terrified, and unbearably tired. Then she swallowed the pills. Not dramatically, not theatrically, just quietly, as someone who had finally run out of places to hide. There was no spotlight, no audience, no scandalous tableau, only a woman in a blue silk robe lying on her own bed in the final moments of a life she had spent fighting to be seen as human.
But by morning, that humanity would be stripped from her.
Morning arrived, not with sympathy, but with hunger. Before her body was even cold, reporters swarmed like vultures circling a fresh carcass. What they found inside her home did not interest them. A woman lying peacefully on her bed, silk robe still smooth, pillows still arranged, no chaos, no indignity. It was a quiet death, a tragic death, a human death. But Hollywood had never wanted Lupe Vélez to be human. A clean, sorrowful ending would not sell. A Latina actress dying with dignity did not fit the narrative they had built for her over a decade. So the press chose another story, one so cruel, so humiliating, so vividly grotesque that it overwrote the truth the moment it was printed. They claimed she died in a toilet, collapsed in the bathroom, face first. A punchline delivered to the world.
No evidence, no witness, no report. Just a myth manufactured for shock value. The real autopsy placed her firmly on her bed. The coroner's statements confirmed it. Her maid's testimony confirmed it. Her friends confirmed it. But none of that mattered, because the lie was better for business, and because America in the 1940s was primed to believe the worst about a Latina woman who didn't stay in her place. The racist trope of the wild Mexican woman had been fed to audiences for years, on posters and interviews, in studio-crafted publicity. So when a disgusting rumor appeared, people accepted it instantly, almost eagerly. The lie spread not because it was believable, but because it satisfied a prejudice. It stripped her of grace. It mocked her body. It turned a tragedy into entertainment. It let Hollywood laugh, one last time, at the woman it never wanted to take seriously. And as the years passed, the myth metastasized. People repeated it with a smirk. Books recycled it. Documentaries echoed it. Even those who adored her unknowingly helped carry the lie forward. A rumor born from racism became her legacy. Not her films, not her brilliance, not her fight, but a story invented by men who saw her life as ink and profit. That is the violence hidden beneath the glitter, a violence that outlives even the dead.
History often records death as a single moment, a final breath, a closed door, a sheet drawn over a silent body. But for Lupe Vélez, there were two deaths. The first was quiet, a woman lying on her bed, overwhelmed by the weight of judgment, heartbreak, and a lifetime of being told she did not belong. Her final moments were not scandalous. They were painfully human. The second death was louder, crueler, and far more permanent. It came when strangers, men with pens, editors with deadlines, studios with grudges, decided that her truth wasn't profitable enough. They tore away her dignity, replaced it with humiliation, and cemented a lie that would follow her for generations. They rewrote her as a joke, a spectacle, a punchline disguised as a cautionary tale.
Hollywood didn't kill her body, but the industry, and the public shaped by its prejudices, killed her legacy. They ensured that when people spoke her name, they did so with a smirk rather than sorrow. They turned her into a caricature in life, in a mockery in death. This is the brutality of the system she entered with hope. It rewarded her talent, then punished her identity. It celebrated her beauty, then used it against her. It invited her in, then shut the door behind her. And when she fell, it didn't offer a hand, it picked up a camera. Even today, the myth remains stronger than the truth, because lies built on racism are resilient. They root themselves in silence, in ignorance, and in the human desire for scandal over compassion. But the truth is here, cold, documented, undeniable.
Lupe Vélez did not die in disgrace. The disgrace belongs to those who painted her that way, those who weaponized her ethnicity, those who turned a tragedy into entertainment. Her final act was not the humiliation the tabloids invented. It was the world's failure to grant a brilliant, complicated Latina woman the dignity she deserved, in life and in death. This story does not seek to romanticize her, nor to excuse her flaws. It seeks only to return to her what was stolen: her humanity, her truth, her right to rest without ridicule. She was not the myth. She was not the punchline. She was not the grotesque story whispered for decades. She was Lupe Vélez, a woman who shone too brightly in a world that only wanted her to burn.